Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Frank. She's Aaron William Brilliant. Well, Aaron William Freeland. The reason I'm confused is because I put the wrong opening in there. I got to change the opening. I forgot to change the opening, but that's neither here or there. Let's move on with what we're here to talk about, and that, of course, is everything Maple Leaf, which means the team that plays in the NHL and all the athletes that play at the Olympic Village and other Canadian genre of sport. And so we'll begin with the Maple Leafs. And the talk that's going on right now is about making, this Leaf team, they can't produce a playoff spot, or they don't seem to be. So the next best thing is to produce draft picks, something they've spent the last almost 10 years giving up. They're going to be looking for some, Aaron. And at the top of the Leaf list of acquirable assets on the Leaf roster, one new Maple Leaf, first-year Maple Leaf, Nicolas.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about the potential to be able to move him out should they need to. His play this year has certainly made him more movable. The issue here, though, is the Leafs, I think, have all the leverage at this point, mainly because he's in a good position when it comes to this sort of thing. Just strictly based on how well he's been playing and his salary cap hit. So that's pretty handy. Another player that they've got potentially in the hopper as well is William Nylander. He comes with a slightly higher, obviously, salary cap hit, but the expectation is if they need to, they can move him. The good news is he's been showing out so far at the Olympics by helping Sweden avoid embarrassment in their Olympic opener against Italy. He did actually manage to get the game-winning goal, and Sweden went on to defeat them 5-2 to pick up 3 points in Group B action. Sweden actually got 59 shots on goal. Clara, a second-round draft pick of the Ducks, put in a heroic performance, facing 49 of those shots before being to injure himself in the third period after making a save on Elias Pettersson. Italy didn't pick up any points, but they did put on a spectacular show. And at the same time, some of the speculation around Nylander was that he was injured because he didn't practice yesterday, but it turns out it was a maintenance day as well. He's been given tomorrow off practice. So we'll see what comes of that.
And we know that it's important that the Leafs do something with the assets they have. That's for sure. So Nylander doesn't practice. Nylander plays for the team and scores the winning goal. Good for him. Let's go over to Major League Baseball, and we'll talk about the Blue Jays heading into 2026.
So Bassett has now officially left the Blue Jays. He's reportedly been signed by the Orioles. At this point here, this is going to be his 5th Major League team. He's actually signed for what appears to be a one-season deal, looking to bring in about $18.5 million. But it's one of those things where they've been trying to bring in other pitchers to shore it up. But as it currently stands, having picked up Cease and a couple other players, they've got themselves situated well. So not at all unhappy with that. The other thing that they have to worry about is manpower. Frank, you've unfortunately got yourself on mute.
No, I don't have myself on mute.
Now you don't.
Yeah, no, I don't. Okay, I want to do this. Hopefully it's the right one. Thank you. That's what should have played. That's better. I think now I got to remember to put it in the breach so that it ends up becoming what I want it to become. I'm really looking forward to what moves the Leafs are going to make. And Aaron, this wasn't a planned conversation, but do you think Do you think Trey Living's the guy that can steer this team into the next version of a competing team that will fight for a Stanley Cup? Because this business about making the playoffs, we've been there, done that. I think Leaf fans want to see something that's more or less more about winning in the playoffs. Is he the guy that can do it?
I'm hoping that he can. The whole I just got here syndrome, which usually Leafs general managers use to cushion themselves for at least the first 6 to 8 months, has worn off. I can appreciate what he's been trying to do, and it does appear that he's gotten himself a Leafs team that is good for the playoffs. The problem is, while they're good for the playoffs, they aren't necessarily going to help make the playoffs, which is the other issue. Because there's such a huge difference between the regular season and the playoffs, very often it's like you need two separate teams to do it. And the team that he's built now is built for one and not for the other. And the problem we had prior to that with Dubas and Shanahan is they had a team that was built for one, but also not built for the other. And it's a question of being able to find the happy medium here. So
yeah, the transition of making the playoffs and then doing well in the playoffs. Okay, let's move over to the second period. We'll talk about Major League Baseball and what are the biggest concerns for the Blue Jays in 2026, Aaron?
Well, some of the major concerns that they have to worry about are regression. For one thing, players not improving over the previous year or players who overshot in the previous year. The other issue that they have to worry about is durability. Specifically, guys that don't necessarily make it to the end of the season or who end up missing large chunks of time. As it currently stands, I think they've managed to move out some of the players that they've been having issues with and bring in some others. The supporting cast that they're bringing through, the 35 guys that they've signed to minor league and tryout contests and in Dunedin, that all bodes well for the future. Santander can be a big piece of this, provided he's healthy. He is trending towards that, but again, it's one of those concerns.
The good news for the Blue Jays is they have a couple of players, a couple of veterans, ones that are homegrown and ones they've imported in, that I think are the kinds of players that can build in the room, right? The cohesiveness that's necessary and the one for all and all for one mentality, which we saw last year. Mm-hmm. They have a really good core in that regard. And I think they've got a manager who's pretty level-headed and handles tough situations quite well. Yes, he gets kicked out of a game. Yes, he gets thrown out. But, you know, if you're going to judge a manager in baseball simply because he gets tossed out, there aren't going to be very many managers, that would be useful to a team. So that, I think, is the important function that we need to see from the Blue Jays. And that is that locker room core, spreading the word among the players that come in. Because remember, a lot of those players last year that at the end of the year were so tight weren't there at the beginning, before the beginning of last year. So they have the right leadership to convince people, you know, that they can do it and that this is the right organization to be in. We've heard it already from some players already who are very happy to be Blue Jays and are very dedicated to continuing their careers, even if it might be on the downside as a Toronto Blue Jay. So tell me about Joe Carter and the statue that they're using to honor him.
So they're going to be replacing Ted Rogers out front of the Rogers Center. So you know, this is something that has been in the works for the past year. They actually let him know about this in late January of 2025. But come July 18th, he's going to be unveiled in bronze out in front of Rogers in between gates 5 and 6. I'm hoping, and I mentioned this on Tuesday as well, that they find a way to suspend him so it looked like he's jumping for joy as he did.
Oh, for goodness sake, Aaron. I don't know if you heard, metal's pretty heavy.
Oh, I totally get it.
When I was in construction, we used to tell the apprentices that would come in the first day, we'd go send them into the storage unit to go find the sky hooks. This is what you need. You need a sky hook, if there is such a thing. But good. I hope it works out the way you want. If they figure out a way to do it, that'll be fantastic. I could see plexiglass or some sort of clear item being used to hold them up, I guess, because I don't think they're going to add any wires. But regardless, a great player. Was he a Hall of Famer? There's a lot of debate about that. But I think he should go into the Hall of Fame for just one reason, Aaron. That touchdown, being on the first non-American team to win a World Series, is a monumental moment in Major League Baseball.
It's absolutely huge. And you could tell a couple seasons later, when everything got shut down, that Major League Baseball was afraid of it happening for a third time with the Montreal Expos after the Jays won for a second time in 1993.
Yeah, no kidding.
So,
no kidding.
One of those things.
All right, let's talk about the Raptors. They're the Canadian team on, the NBA roster.
Yeah, so this is from Sunday's game. They absolutely destroyed the Pacers. Unfortunately, they didn't do as well last night. They ended up losing that particular game, but that's the way these sorts of things go. Scotty Barnes was absolutely on one. He had 25 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 blocks. RJ Barrett added 20 points, and Sandro Mamukelashvili added 17 off the bench. Pascal Siakam, Spicy P, led Indiana with 18 points. Close, but no cigar. At the end of the day, the correct team prevailed. Unfortunately, they didn't manage to do as well in their game on Wednesday against the Detroit Pistons. It was unfortunately rather unsided, with Detroit pulling out the 113-95 win. The Raptors were struggling with the rebound and struggling to defend and got out-hustled. They were down by 20 points after 3. Scotty Barnes played all right, but got not enough support from his teammates. So at the end of the day, even with Puddle returning, it wasn't enough.
They came as close as 6 points.
Yeah.
So you could say the experience last night, they were Detroit Pistons. All right. Argos signed defensive back Trey Rucker.
So the Argonauts signed Trey Rucker and Solomon Davis. This was reported a couple days back. Rucker most recently spent time with the Commanders in 2025. Originally out of Oklahoma State, he played 4 seasons with the Cowboys. They also signed Davis, who played 12 games at Central Michigan in 2024, had 19 passes for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also played 3 seasons at Valparaiso before his time at CMU.
Let's talk about the Owls.
Yep, they signed 3, including a quarterback, Anthony Brown Jr. So that's a good signing for them. This is trying to preserve a little continuity. They also got Dresser Wynn and Donovan Manuel. All 3 of them have signed 2-year deals. Brown played for Boston College. In 2021, he was the Oregon Ducks starting quarterback in all 14 games. Wynn spent time with the Elks in 23 after a stint with the LA Rams. He later returned to LA for 2 additional seasons following his time with the Elks. Manuel played 2 seasons with Florida International, and his final season with them, he had 121 tackles leading the team.
Let's talk about the Bombers.
The Bombers side defensive end Michael Fletcher and linebacker Aaron Smith. On top of that, they re-signed defensive back Nick Hallett. So they're slowly getting a whole bunch of guys back that they wanted to. It's a 1-year contract for Nick. He officially hit the Canadian Football League free agent market on Tuesday. They made sure that they wrapped him up relatively quickly. Fletcher had joined the Bombers after time in the NFL and a 5-year collegiate career with Appalachian State and Michigan State. And Smith signed with the Bombers after signing in the NFL and a 4-year career with South Carolina.
Awesome. Let's talk about the Bombers.
So, as I just mentioned, they did re-sign Nick Hallett. They also re-signed Michael Fletcher and Aaron Smith. So that's, where we're at with that one.
Okay, let's go with the Olympics then. Sorry about that, Aaron. Let's go with the Olympics then.
Sure. On day 4, Here's a bit of a wrap up for what happened. In short track speed skating, Kim Booten won her 5th career Olympic medal, making her Canada's most decorated female short track speed skater. She was joined in the final by Courtney Sareau, William Dangenot, and Felix Roussel. Florence Brunel and Stephen Dubois had skated in earlier rounds to also contribute to the medal. This was the mixed relay. In figure skating, Stephen Gogolev also had a great performance on Olympic ice. He finished the men's short program in 10th with a score of 87.41. Freestyle skiing, 4 Canadians have advanced directly to the finals of the men's and women's moguls. That would have been Julien Viel and Michael Kingsbury, who finished 2nd and 3rd respectively, behind Japan's Ikuma Hiroshima, who scored an 85.42. Among the rest of them is Elliot Vaillancourt, who was 16th on Tuesday. In hockey, Team USA women's had their way with Team Canada, posting a 5-0 win and increasing their record to a perfect 4-0 in the prelims. Canada is going to be playing the final game of the group stage on Thursday when they play Finland. That would have been this morning at 8:30 a.m. Valérie Grenier and Laurent Saint-Germain finished 13th with a time of 2:24.05 in the combined alpine ski. Grenier placed 19th in the downhill, but they moved up in the standings to 13th when Saint-Germain was 7th fastest in the slalom. Amberly Susko was the top Canadian in the women's singles event, placing 15th with a 4-run combined time of 3:33.802 in the luge. She had started the competition on Monday with the 9th fastest first run, but dropped to 17th after a skid early in her second run. The women's and men's classic sprints in cross-country skiing took place at Tussero Cross Country Stadium. Jasmine Drolet finished 43rd, Allison Mackey finished 44th, Sonia Schmidt placed 45th, and Olivia Bouffard-Nesbitt finished 51st in a field of 89. Antoine Cyr was 39th, Xavier McKeever was 41st, and Tom Stephen finished 47th in a field of 95. Moving on to day 5, Canada added more to their medal haul, specifically with Piper Gillies and Paul Poirier's incredible performance for bronze. There was also a near podium in women's moguls, and the men's curling tournament finally got underway. Maya Schwinghammer actually finished 5th in women's moguls, making her Olympic debut. She's from Saskatoon. She had a score of 77.61 points in the super final, missing the podium by just 0.39 of a point. Laurent Debreuil was the top Canadian in the men's 1,000 meters. He finished 8th. You know what? The time of 1:08.21 that he set was actually a 1/10 of a second faster than the time that won him the silver medal 4 years ago in Beijing. He was 0.87 seconds back of the podium in Milan. Elizabeth Hoskins is through to the final of women's halfpipe. We'll have a little bit more on that tomorrow, or actually probably Tuesday. In curling, Brad Jacobs, Mark Kennedy, Brent Gallant, and Ben Hebert defeated Germany 7-6 in the first draw of the men's Olympic tournament. They actually had to go to an extra end after a little bit of touch and go when it came time in the 8th end. Kelly Allen and Beatty Podolsky finished 10th in the first ever Olympic women's doubles luge event. Devin Wardrope and Cole Zajanski also got a top 10 finish in the men's double, posting a 2-run time of 1:45.906. Jack Crawford was one of 4 Canadians taking place in alpine skiing. The Seeger brothers, Brody and Riley, also skied. Brody ended up in 22nd. Riley missed a gate and did not finish. That's pretty much everything that happened on day 5. And jumping forward now to day 6, which is current day, Rachel Holman got off to a positive start. She had herself a great little game. Now, they wanted to avoid starting 0-3 as she did back in 2018. She actually got off to a 10-4 7-end win over Denmark in the opening draw of women's curling. So that's a positive start there. Michael Kingsbury won his 4th silver medal of the Olympics in men's moguls earlier this morning. Grandin actually finished 2nd in men's snowboard cross. He was actually 0.03 seconds behind the gold medal winner, which is exactly the same time that they both finished with a gap between them in 4 years ago. So that's a little bit of heartbreak there. Team Canada wrapped up their round robin with a win over Finland this morning, 5-0. And the Canadian men's team beat Czechia 5-0 as well in the opening game of the tournament. So solid finish for the Canadian women before heading into the medal round, and solid opening for the men.
Good for them.
Yeah.
All right. Now that I see that the script that you sent me just arrived, by the way, just so you know.
Goodness. Okay.
That explains why I was confused. Where do you want to go from here?
Well, I mean, we can start with the Red Blacks because they've signed
start
Jake
with the Red
Meyer
Blacks.
to a 1 year and AJ Allen to a 2 year. So that's something positive for them. Jake actually is a veteran. They signed him to a 1 year. Dinwiddie said, I just missed him in Calgary, but I'm excited to get a chance to have him there. He played for the Roughies last season, so that's a bit of a scenery change for him. AJ Allen got himself a 2 year deal with the Red Blacks as well. At the start of silly season, he was a free agent on February 10th at noon. He was listed as number 6 on the CFL's top 30 pending free agents. He played all 18 games and 2 playoff games for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He had career highs in tackles, defensive tackles, quarterback sacks, and interceptions. So, he's an elite Canadian starter, and I think that is going to position Ottawa well.
And then also they signed linebacker AJ Allen.
Yep. Not now on the other side of the coin, heading out into the West Division. Now the Elks signed Malik Carney, Taylor Powell. They also signed Coulter Woodmansey, Brendan Bordner, Jordan Murray, and Brendan O'Leary Orange, all of them through 2026 and through 2027. So a whole bunch of guys getting 1 and 2 year deals there. It definitely looks like they're looking to shore up the defensive line and give themselves a little more punch at quarterback with Taylor Powell.
Let's drop down to the Argos. They signed defensive back Robert Priester.
Yeah, they signed Priester and Andre Miller. Priester became a free agent on Tuesday at noon. He played 15 games for the Red Blacks in 2025, recording 27 defensive tackles, 10 special teams tackles, 2 interceptions, and 1 forced fumble. Miller played 4 games with Ottawa in 2025, catching 12 passes for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns. He signed with Ottawa in 24, seeing action in 6 games that season, totaling 14 receptions for 254 yards and 2 scores. He's also spent time with the Giants and Green Bay Packers in 22 and 23. Played 38 games while at Maine, where he caught 104 passes for 1,848 yards. So, all in all, good depth signing, I think, for the Argonauts. Somebody that can catch the ball and run it if they need to, and a little bit of defensive help.
Okay, let's go to the third period, and we'll talk about Slafkovsky. He scores a pair for his team.
Yeah, that Duke turned into an absolute beast. He scored twice and had an assist for Slovakia in Wednesday in the opening game, where Slovakia beat Finland 4-1 in the Group B preliminary round matchup. He scored the tournament's first goal at 7:45 of the first period against UC Saros, who plays for the Nashville Predators. In 57 games so far this season, Slafkovsky has a career-high 21 goals, and with 47 points is 6 away from matching his total from a year ago in 79 games. Oliver Kapanen, one of his teammates, was also named to Team Finland, but didn't play. So this is a good thing for him. It's a big boost for him coming back. Nick Suzuki and Alexander Tessier, who's playing for France, are 2 other teammates that he's eventually going to be seeing in these Olympics.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the Sens and what they got going on in the tournament.
Well, there's a growing concern amongst the Senator Sickos fan base, just mainly because these sort of midseason tournaments have been problematic before. When you think back, in 2006, the Sens were leading the Northeast Division with a record of 36-14-5, and were 4th overall in the NHL with Dominik Hasek in goal. They went on the Olympic break, and as good as he was, Hasek had missed 2 of the previous 3 NHL seasons. He retired and didn't play in 2002, 2003, then came back after the lockout. But after that, unfortunately, Hasek got injured while there. and when coming back to Ottawa, had to rehab the injury for the playoffs, but wasn't successful. Tkachuk, same deal. Brady got injured at the Four Nations face-off last year and was unable to play. So, if Ottawa Senators fans are a little off-put by this whole midseason tournament thing, they have every right to be.
Well, it hasn't worked out for them.
No,
not in a positive way. But it is what it is. Speaking of positive, Hellebuyck, the goaltender for the Winnipeg Jets, is going to start for, at least it looks like he's going to start for Team USA. Tell us a little bit about him and the game today.
Well, so as it goes, it turns out Team USA was looking for a clean sheet against Latvia. With Connor Hellebuyck getting the start, unfortunately, he wasn't able to keep the shutout. He ended up giving that up, mainly because the United States wasn't paying attention to unknown commodity Zemgus Girgensons, who actually managed to tie the game less than 2 minutes after Brady Tkachuk scored to give the USA the lead 1-0. However, with Team USA collecting 3 goals from Brock Nelson, Tage Thompson, and Brock Nelson in the second period, that made it 4-1. And then Austin Matthews managed to pot one at 17:25 of the third to give them the 5-1 win. So, not the start that Latvia was hoping for, not the clean sheet that Team USA was hoping for, especially with Canada getting the 5-0 win over Czechoslovakia. But that's a positive start.
Yeah, a better team. But these early games, as we spoke about the U.S. beating Canada, in the preliminary round, it isn't the end of the world. What matters is what happens down the road. You have to qualify for the final rounds, and that's when you got to win. It's win or you're out, win or you're out. And that's a lot of pressure for everybody, anybody in that, for that matter. Let's talk about the Flames and Matt Vigridin.
So Matt Vigridin was, after his performance at the juniors, the World Juniors this past December, was rumored to be heading straight to the big club. But when Gridden has since been in the AHL, with the Calgary Wranglers. He's actually going to be he hit the ice yesterday for the 2026 AHL All-Star Classic. There are actually 3 other 19-year-olds that participated in this event, so he's in some elite company here. There's Patrice Bergeron, who played in the AHL All-Star game at the age of 19 back in 2005. JT Miller played at the age of 18 back in 2013. William Nylander and Mikko Rantanen both played at the age of 19 in 2016, and Dalibor Dvorsky played at the age of 19 in 2025. This means that Gridden is coming along well in his development. I'm glad that they decided not to press him into service off the World Juniors right away. And it's not easy to play in the AHL because you're coming in as an 18 and 19-year-old, much like the NHL, playing against a whole bunch of guys that have been in the NHL before and are angry about the fact that they're not still there, as well as guys that are fighting tooth and nail to make it to the show. So he's well situated at this point, being an all-star, to graduate to the big club in the next year or so.
Another ex-Leaf playing well. We got to see him. He's really good at face-offs. Unfortunately for him and his team, they lost 5-0 to Canada. David Kampf.
Yeah, he's represented Czechia at every single level now, which I think is pretty awesome. Up until this year, the only thing that was missing for him was the Olympics. He played at the World Juniors. He's played at the men's. I believe he might have even been selected to play for Team Some of Europe at the World Cup of Hockey about a decade ago. He's actually one of 7 Vancouver Canucks to be playing in the Olympics currently. 7. The Canucks have 7 guys playing in the Olympics, and yet they are languishing at the bottom of the league. It's terrible. 3? Oliver Ekman-Larsson, William Nylander, and Austin Matthews. So, but at least it's a bright spot for Vancouver. They can at least say that they've had some decent representation. It's just a question of getting everything to work for them when they're, back in the NHL. It's weird.
If you're the GM, you're saying, I think I'm doing my job. We should look at the coach, maybe.
It's always everybody else's fault.
I'm kidding. I don't mean that at all. I don't have a clue about what's wrong with Vancouver. Other than there's only one thing that I can say with seriousness, and that is that they've had problems, the opposite of the problems or the good things that the Blue Jays had going on. They had a uniform group of players with the Blue Jays, as we talked about earlier, and BC just hasn't found, Vancouver hasn't found that kind of player cohesion that one needs to advance in anything they do.
No, and it's tough because all of the parts individually are there for them to do well. It's just a problem with the mix for some reason. Maybe the temperature in the oven isn't quite right, or they didn't have enough baking powder, but this cake just ain't sitting right,
I think it's more or less it's something that it speaks to the core. If you keep getting rid of players and the problem persists, then there's something in the core that needs to change. And it doesn't necessarily have to be players, Aaron, because we saw it in Buffalo, right? I mean, didn't we see what happened in Buffalo? They changed the GM, and it was like they changed the whole team. But all they did was change the GM.
And they got rid of the guy that promised palm trees, and all of a sudden everything came up roses. It's weird how that works, man. It's really weird.
There's I don't know. It's a chemical reaction, right? It's chemistry at work. Anything that you do or someone else does has a way of having a different effect. The same idea can be transmitted by two different people, Aaron, and sometimes it doesn't reach. I'm preaching to the choir here. Everybody out there knows that, but I think sometimes we forget in sports that exists very much so, that it's the combination of the characters. And I've talked before about addition by subtraction. We're learning with the Leafs that, Marner's a really good player. We saw him at the Olympics play that first game. He looked great out there. Matthews scored a goal. It wasn't a goal that was really necessary, but it was a goal. So, you have talented players.
Bless you, sir.
Thank you. Sorry, a sneeze. So, it isn't about talent. And this is the thing about sports. We watched the Super Bowl. We haven't talked about the Super Bowl. I'm not looking to talk about Bad Bunny, but I am here to talk about the Super Bowl. And there's a prime example of the opportunity for a talented team to be ignored because of an upstart team in New England. The better team was always Seattle. It was always the better team. It had the more experienced quarterback. It had the best defense in the league. They allowed the least points of any team in the NFL this year. So you knew that there was going to be a defense out there with an inexperienced quarterback. Yet most people thought New England would win. I call that the Brady principle. He's not on the team anymore. Neither's the head coach.
It's the worst example of brand recognition. It's like, the New England Patriots are in the Super Bowl. They have to win. They won 6. Yeah.
It didn't happen.
I am relieved to say that wasn't the case. In any event, yeah, I'm very happy that Seattle managed to eventually prevail. I don't think the outcome of the game was ever really in doubt. When the New England didn't score in their first 2 or 3 series, you kind of knew it was going to be a slog. It was going to be a tough game, and Seattle was probably going to end up coming out on top. And as soon as they got the first field goal, you sort of had the impression that I don't think New England was used to facing adversity quite like that. So
they were a team that had a very soft schedule, because the way the schedules work in the NFL is the better the team you are the next year, the tougher the schedule. The worse you are, the easier the schedule the next year. And that's what New England had. They had an easier schedule this year. Am I taking away what they did? No. They did what they needed to do to end up with the record that they had and end up in the Super Bowl. But I got to say, the other thing that irritates me, and I wanted to mention because I'm still irritated by it. Why do we have to have an MVP that's an offensive player? Why can't we have one that's a defensive player? I mean, that team that won the Super Bowl won it on the backs of the defense. It should have been a defender that won the MVP. Now, the running back, best running game, most yards, only second best in all of Super Bowl history. And we're talking 60 games. But still, Aaron, I thought they should have they could have found somebody on the defense to give it to.
Well, they keep saying offense wins game, defense wins championships, but then they never give it to the defensive players, right? So that puts the lie to that.
No, you said it right there. You hit the old proverbial nail on the head. That was hammer application for sure. Well, what I will say about Bad Bunny, Aaron, I don't speak Spanish. Okay, first of all, I don't speak Spanish. Do I expect every program or everything to be in English? No. But I can honestly say that I wasn't as drawn into that whole thing as a participant. I felt like a guest, and I felt like somebody who was watching something that wasn't really intended for me, even though it may have been. I just, I can't get in Bad Bunny's head. But what that was about to me, my interpretation of what happened was, it was basically saying Puerto Rico is here, and we've had some. I mean, there were things there that you could have inferred easily, like on the telephone poles or electrical poles. Why were they there? A lot of people might wonder why they were there. They're there because a big majority of Puerto Ricans still to this day have no electricity since Trump threw paper towels to people back in his first administration.
Now, the wedding that took place was actually real.
Yeah,
Bad Bunny actually did sign the wedding register. So that's something. The references as well to some of the stands that he went by were vendor stands and named after vendor stands in his old neighborhoods.
Right.
The little child that he gave the Grammy to was actually a representation of him as a child watching MTV. That sort of thing. He almost pulled an Animaniacs World song, where he named every country from Chile all the way on up to.
Well, he named all the we've talked about this
all the Americas,
right?
All the American countries.
The United States is not America. The United States is in America, and so the Gulf of America, when you look at it in that context, Aaron, it's named appropriately because it's a Gulf in America, and America being every country in this hemisphere, and that's this hemisphere is called America. It's been co-opted by the Americans for whatever reason. They are the United States. It's in their name, man. The United States of America. It's USA, not US. It's US
of A. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So the admission is there that they are part of America. The other thing I'd like to say about to ask you about is, we're watching the Raptors now with an opportunity to get into the playoffs. What do you feel the excitement's going to be in as far as the Raptors once they get themselves to the playoffs? What do you think they'll be doing? How well do you think they'll do?
Based on where they're currently sitting in the standings, they're currently sitting fifth in the Eastern Conference. They are currently sitting third in their own division, which means they're comfortably in for the playoffs. This is a team that has done all right in their own division. And that's obviously their primary competition when it comes to this sort of thing. You know, I have a feeling they'll at least get to the second round. They're not like the Leafs in that they're going to flame out in the first round. We have higher hopes than that. There are I don't think there's any players left now from the 2019 championship team. There may be one player left on the Raptors that played at that time, but this
You
is
know what? I think
entirely
the last one got traded. I think you're
yeah.
right. I think there
I
are
think
none.
you're
I know
right.
you want to say there aren't any, and I think you're right. I don't think there are any Raptors left from then.
But at this point, right?
Boucher was the last one.
Yeah,
I
and
think.
he went last season. So, they have the opportunity here to start fresh, and do something absolutely fantastic with Darko at the helm. So I think they're going to do all right once they get there. They've got a week off now. Their next game isn't until February 19th against Chicago. They're 32-23. Chicago is 24-31. I hesitate to call it a trap game, but it is a game that they should be able to win. I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched. But this is one of those things where they have the opportunity to get there, and I'm reasonably confident that they can.
This is their first opportunity to do something. You want to get that, Aaron?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I will. Give me just a second.
You want to get that, Aaron? As far as I'm concerned, the Raptors are in a position right now to surprise many and satisfy Raptor fans. Raptor fans, they're a good bunch of fans, very loyal, and we saw what happened when they won the championship. Almost 2 million people made their way to Toronto. It was an amazing feat of support for a team that was less than 2 decades old, so it was a good thing that they accomplished. Good for them. Fantastic, really. Let's see what happens with them. The Blue Jays, to talk about them, we talked a lot about them, but what I'd like to say is I got to look at the schedule to see what the giveaways are, because I'm going to go get a jersey again. But I don't think they have any jerseys this year they're giving away. They're giving away bobbleheads. They're giving away stuff with T-shirts. But I haven't seen anything with a hockey jersey. The last 2 years, Bev and I have gone to get the hockey jerseys.
Oh, I know the Springer one was really popular.
Man, and it looks awesome in my closet, I got to tell you. And I love that guy. You know why I love that guy? That guy is very appreciative of the way he's been treated in Toronto. And he has had the kind of time in Toronto that does not sound or look anything like the treatment that Marner got. Do you know what I'm getting at? Like, there are a lot of reasons why Jay fans could have dumped on him, and they didn't. But I don't think they did because of the way he was 100% gung-ho when he got on the field, and he never talked bad or hid it when he wasn't playing well, or when he was the same guy whether he was playing well or not playing well. He was attentive to the fans and to the media in a consistent manner, which I think is great, which is when I talked about the locker room and the core players. Him and, Junior are two key guys that they set the tone for that team and how they think and how they play.
Now, if you are looking for giveaways, by the way, Frank, just to
tell me
a little bit here, they are having a Blue Jays American League Champions white panel hat giveaway on the 28th of March. There is also a Blue Jays AL Champion crew neck shirt giveaway on the 30th of March.
Well, that one's not bad.
Yeah, it's not a bad deal. They also have the dollar Looney nights are back. The work from Dome nights are back. Yeah. They've got an Addison Barger couch T-shirt giveaway night on Saturday, April 11th.
That's hokey.
That's hilarious. I think it's stuff like that is just fun.
That's hokey. That's just okay. Have fun with that. I'm happy for you. Well, listen, Aaron, I hope that phone call was not important. Enjoy enjoy the rest of the day. Enjoy tomorrow's game because it'll be fun. The Canadian team's playing again. The men's team's playing again. And the women are going to begin the important part of the Olympics. So they'll be marching to a medal. I don't think either of us thinks that they're not going to win a medal, but we know what medal we want them to win. And we're hoping they win.
Oh, 100%. We know what they're hoping for. And if they don't, I don't know if it's necessarily means that we need a referendum or if we just need to reevaluate the selection process.
There's one thing I could tell you about women's sports, Aaron. They're a gift. We
100%.
haven't had a chance to really have a long history with women's sports. Not because women weren't capable, but they just weren't given an opportunity. And our hockey women have done wonderful things. They won the gold medal last time. Our soccer team, the same thing. The one thing about people who follow women's sports, here's something I'm going to tell you as a person who follows them. I'm not here to con you into thinking that I spend every living breath watching women's sports. I watch enough. And here's what I'm going to tell you. And I say this from the bottom of my heart. The nice thing about women's sports is that the improvement curve is much steeper in women's sports than it is in men's sports. Men's sports is kind of leveled off in the sense that the improvement from year to year is discernible barely. But in women's sports, replay a hockey game in the PWHL, the first one they had, and show anyone today. Would I be wrong to suggest that the ability and talent of the players is clearly visible when you watch the game? It's not subtle. And this is where women get the chance to prove that they can compete with men as far as sports are concerned. I'm not here to talk about them competing directly with men. That's not what I'm trying to say. That's not the road I'm going on. The road I'm going on, the ability to enjoy and admire the talent on the ice, on the pitch, on the floor, is getting better and better with women the more they're given an equal opportunity to participate. So good for them. And that's what I like about the Canadian women's hockey team. The Americans are tough, man. 10 times the population to draw from in a sport that women's hockey doesn't have to compete with women's baseball or women's football. So hockey's up the pecking order in the U.S. That's a hell of a competition Canadians are up against, is all I'm trying to say.
Oh, 100%. And you know what? Every single step of the way, it's a delight to watch.
Absolutely. Aaron, thanks for doing this, buddy.
Not a problem, Frank. We'll see you Tuesday.
Yeah. Rain or shine.
Excellent.
All right. He's Aaron William Freeland. I'm Candid Frank Stanishi. Thank you for watching, and hopefully this is the correct